A fun day. I can't really talk specifically yet about recruits because we're waiting to announce them all at 5:30 when we get them all together. But good day for us. It'll be when you read it, you can go back and hopefully from the release, Mario cleaned up a lot of my ramblings of late last night into a usable format. But we got a lot better today. So that, and then with Oral Roberts, obviously a huge step up in competition from what we've had. A team that's already got 3 wins, team that's got a lot of starters back from a team that in our gym last year took us pretty deep into the fourth quarter before it was a comfortable game. So a unique style of play. Everybody can shoot it and is willing to shoot it. So quick turnaround for us. We were off yesterday with we had to have a mandatory day off, so it was yesterday. 1 day of prep. We got to be really good today in practice.
When you go back to Monday night, I don't know if you played your best game, especially in the first half, but to score 101, I mean, what's that show your capabilities as a team?
Especially when you look at there weren't very many threes. I think 5. Is that right? So 66 points in the paint, which is another one of our indicators that our offense is functioning. You know, if they want to take one thing away, we need to be able to do the other. So getting 66 in the paint, and again, it's not like we turn people over and go lay it in. They were all half court. I thought our spacing was really good. There was a lineup, and it was the starters, but it was the second rotation when they played. I think we scored on 14 of our 16 possessions, and we didn't turn it over at all. So I thought our efficiency was really good. I didn't like the free throw percentage. I didn't like the way we finished the game. And, you know, as a coach, you're always going to start picking at things, and we're finally at a point with our teams where we can pick at them. And we had challenged the team, can we learn from wins? Let's not be that team that has to get beat to be all mad and go back to work and work hard and fix things. So I thought going between the 2 games, it was certainly something that we drew a lot of positives out of. We didn't have much to show them in the film room. We really were picky, having to be very, very picky to find things to show them. And that's the key to this whole thing this time of the year.
You mentioned ORU stepping up. I mean, what do you see from them, and what do you expect tomorrow?
Well, you know, sometimes the last 2 games or in our 2 exhibition games, if we've gambled, we didn't pay for it. If you gamble against these guys and you reach yourself out of position or you miss a rotation or what we call our my bads, you know, our group loves that term. And if we do that, it's going to be costing us 3 points at a time. They've got a number of kids that shoot a very high percentage. They're confident. They're willing to take it. They're going to make us pay every time we make a mistake and really expose us. So we're not going to be able to make up for it with Taylor blocking a shot or coming off of her kid. They'll make us pay for every mistake we make. So that's the key. Plus, they're confident. They've played 3 games against some quality opponents, so they'll come in. They've never been intimidated by us. We play so often, and a lot of these kids play against each other, so we don't have a huge home court advantage or a huge intimidation. They're coming over here making the short trip expecting to win, and I think that's a difference in what we've faced so far.
Does looking at their roster, it looks like you guys match up a lot better. I mean, they play 4 guards.
Yeah, there's not a somebody walking in and warm-ups that's going to, strike fear into you, but that's part of the problem. Sometimes when you have that kid, they get your attention. They get it done. They got a 5'8" kid that's averaging double-figure rebounds. So, I think there's times people look at us like that too. But I do think with them, there's going to be some things we're going to be able to do defensively that we're not just going to be overwhelmed. And gives us a chance around the basket. Taylor's been holding her own against kids this size for a long time now. So there's not a person on there that we look at and think of mismatch.
Any update on the kids who are still sitting?
Yeah, just that IT's a little closer to being 100%. Everybody else that's been out, still out. Nobody else will be dressed out that hasn't been. But IT is a little closer, and fortunately no new bangs or dings to report.
With Amber, do you feel like her shooting stroke is going to come at some point? I mean,
yeah, it's just getting her more open shot. Yeah, and we've at the risk of sounding like quotes that we've heard this year, we haven't opened up the playbook yet either. we've got some things that we tend to save, and some of those things are things she's really good at. But yeah, we get her those same type shots. It's always a little bit of a situation where you haven't played. You can practice all you want, but it's just that game speed, the game adrenaline, the game feel. So 100% confidence in any shot she wants to shoot. I'm okay. She pulled one in transition the other day, and I went back and I think I was listening to Brett's like, that might not be. He knows not to say it anymore because he doesn't know. He says, I think Coach might have been okay with that one. Whereas I think somebody that didn't know us might have said that's not a good shot. Brett knows us and follows us enough, knows that I'm comfortable with her taking it because she makes them in practice.
I think you and I talked about maybe in the preseason something about during like one of your scrimmages or something that was it was one she was hesitant, but you guys had to talk about.
So pull up that it was she had a chance to tie the game in a 2-for-1 possession, and I said I will be okay. I will have your back in the media room and whoever wants to ask. That's a good shot for her. She works at it so much. I think anytime somebody's got an unorthodox shot, which she does, her shot's not, it doesn't look like one out of Hoosiers or one of those things, but it's been practiced so much. And I still expect everything she shoots to go in.
You mentioned you got better today in recruiting.
Yeah.
Where did you get better without mentioning those names, and how much does that future look bright for you guys?
Need for who we're going to be graduating, not only next year but the year after, in the scoring department, size, quality size, experience size, and then versatility at the other spot. But the thing about these, and it'll come out we didn't recruit any of these kids. It never felt like we were recruiting them. I purposely didn't use the word recruiting class. I purposely stayed because it never, ever, ever felt like we had to try to convince these kids to come. They wanted to be here. And all the way down to in 3 very different paths. One committed the day she stepped on campus for the first time, and another went all the way through the process, visited 5 schools, which is almost unheard of. And it couldn't have been more different, but we never one time felt like we were recruiting them. It just felt like we were getting to know them and building relationships, and then they chose us. So I think that in year 3 is a huge thing with your classes where you start to get kids that want to be Razorbacks, regardless of where they're from.
Mike, you singled out Taylor early in the year for coming in great shape.
Mm-hmm.
Is she playing at a faster pace even because of that?
Mm-hmm. And more confident and playing longer, not fouling as much. She used to just get tired and hack somebody to stop the clock. And in her defense, at that point in time, she knew she was probably going to play 20 minutes a night. So, when I was saying avoid foul trouble, she kind of looked at me like, I can get my licks in here. And she would stop the clock. That's not the case now. I have full confidence she could play 40 minutes at that pace. It was easy to see from beginning of practices, and now through, I think, 4 games, y'all are starting to see what we saw all summer. This is a kid that's she's jumping higher, she's jumping faster, she's jumping more often, she's more active defensively. Mario would have to go back and look, but I'm not sure we ever out-rebounded our opponent 2 times in a row in the last 3 years. It's just not really our thing. And with her dominance, it's become contagious. Now we've got, I think Chelsea had 8 rebounds and 9 rebounds. She's averaging like 8.5, which is a lot. So Taylor has separated herself, and then I think has helped us separate our rebounding from what we've been like in the past, and defense.
Sure felt like the scouting report the last 2 games was not to let your team shoot threes, even when you kept driving into the basket. Does it help to have someone other than Chelsea now that you guys can penetrate, drive, and kick, whatever, to kind of create the next step?
You can move them around. Yeah, you can't load up that side of the floor on them. If you do, we're going to get a layup someplace else. And here's what you start looking at. If you don't put your absolute fastest defensive player on Michaela, you're in trouble, because she's going to shoot layups in transition and at will and get in the paint. So now you got to put your second fastest one on Lex, or she's going to do the same thing. So now Amber and Chelsea are starting to get down that list of the other team's, quote, best defensive players. And you start trying to guard Chelsea with not your best, she's going to do what she's been. Have y'all seen that new stat on the stat sheet, fouls drawn? It's say FD on there, I think, like fouls drawn. That's what that is. She drew 9 fouls in the first game and 8 fouls in the second game. Chelsea. by herself. That's 17 fouls in 2 games that she has put onto the other team. So a lot of that has to do with the matchups, and that's got that trickle-down effect of who do you put on Michaela, who do you put on Lex, then who does Amber. Now if you put somebody that's not one of your trusted defensive players, now Amber's wide open for 8 to 10 threes a game, and that's not a good formula. So, our motto is always to make a defense wrong. We don't care what they're going to play, how they're going to play a ball screen. We've got a plan to make them wrong, and now that you've got pieces to keep moving around, it's kind of fun. We moved Chelsea she scored in 5 different spots in 8 possessions in that little stretch where we were really good. Just moving her around a little bit, forcing them to guard her at a different angle.
Non-basketball question for you. Why was it important for you to show up to Barry's press conference the other day, and what do you think he'll do in that role?
I don't know if you saw the connection. He lived in Greenwood for a while. And our high school coach that I played for my junior year, in an effort to help us understand what coaching was about, he wanted us to volunteer and coach a youth team. And Barry was the point guard on the team that I got assigned. So I've followed Barry every step of his playing career, his coaching career, sometimes from afar at all the different places we've been. But knowing the situation that that landed in his lap, I just felt like if it had happened to me, I'd want to support as many people as we could get. So being there was important. I sent him a text the night before. I said, you're not going to need me, but if you do, I'm here. And he thanked me for it, and then being there, he thanked me again back. That's just Barry. I think y'all all know him that way, and not being there would have felt wrong, So we moved some things around, and I thought he absolutely just nailed it. He came in there without a note card, without anything scripted out, spoke from the heart, and it was pretty obvious. I thought he and Hunter both handled a really difficult day with a lot of class and a lot of expertise and wisdom that I wish I'd have had at his age. It was fun to watch him. But anybody that's known Barry for any point in time knew that he was the guy to do that. In that situation, the toughest situation you can imagine, and then find out you're going to LSU too. I guess that tops it all off. But if we weren't playing, I'd find a way to get down there to watch the game too. I'm excited to see what these next 3 weeks hold for him, and there's not anybody better that could have been doing it for us. All right.